Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 30 of the Scottish Silverback podcast. And we've got another fellow Scot on this episode, Chris McCreadie. Most of you know him as Khifie West on Instagram. I'm pretty sure people think that's actually your real name. So, yeah, we thought you'd get you on. I know you're in the midst of your contest prep, so we kind of really appreciate you coming on and just introduce our audience. I'm sure our audience is your audience, but you know what I mean, just trying to get Scottish faces out there in bodybuilding and that. So if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, mate, and just how you got into bodybuilding, what you're planning on doing, where you want to take it, stuff like that.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate that. So, of course, Chris McCreadie, or Khifie West, whatever, you probably know me more so as that, realistically. The kind of name comes back from the old professional wrestling days when I basically done professional wrestling before bodybuilding, as that was the main goal. Grew up always wanting to be a wrestler, and I was able to pursue that goal, and that's kind of where that name came from. And because obviously all my social medias, like platforms, I'd had as that name because obviously that was my stage name within the wrestling. I just kind of thought whenever I gave the wrestling up and kind of put it to one side, I thought, well, everybody kind of knows me as that already, so I might as well just keep that kind of stage name for like my social media handles and that. But then I kind of more so moved to bodybuilding full time, and realistically that's where my kind of goals took off from. And of course my goal within bodybuilding is to take it all the way. I've still got quite a few things, like obviously like within natural bodybuilding and that, I was able to achieve my pro card and that relatively early, which was quite a shocker for me, obviously being able to do it coming out of the junior category. But again, it's now a case of not stepping out of the junior category into like men's open. It's just been stepping out of the junior category into the pro division, in which obviously they don't have any sort of like you kind of just move towards obviously open bodybuilding. Do you know what I mean? I never got a chance to kind of move from junior bodybuilding into lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight off like the amateur side. So it's kind of been a case of, right, I've had to really, really, really step up my game. Obviously with my age and that maturity's kind of hit me a little bit on that side because of obviously my age, and that was something that I kind of kept getting told, especially throughout the junior ranks, was just and I need to just obviously mature in that over the course of the year. So I mean, I've took that on board, and we took a full year out, ended up near enough 2 years to be fair by the time I do get back on stage. But I'm competing at the BNBF finals this year, which will be the DFAC Grand Prix. So that's just basically a category within obviously the final. So it's like two different shows, but it's kind of formed into one. And then we're looking to do the Worlds after that, which is around 4 weeks after. But right now, that's the way that the shows are looking. I'm only looking to do a couple this year, but obviously they are the kind of main big ones. And I've just really got like pro world champ to box off to kind of complete absolutely everything within like natural bodybuilding circuit itself. But obviously, who's to say, like, this is kind of my first main year in the pro ranks. So I mean, it's going to be an eye-opener because it's a lot different to, like, you guys will know, obviously moving from like amateur ranks to pro ranks, and just any sort of sport is obviously a whole lot different. So I've had to really emphasize my off season from when I got off a stage as a junior to now when I'm going to be getting on stage against like the pros. So it's quite a big deal this year. But I mean, we're very much on track, and now today marks 12 weeks out, and it's pretty mental because when I started prep I was like 31 weeks out, and all of a sudden it's now like I'm 12 weeks out. That, like, to be fair, like this should still sound like quite far away, but I actually feel as if I'm like so close to the show now because obviously we started off so far. So yeah, that's full-time bodybuilding now. That's the wrestling that's kind of been put to the side. Needless to say, I would probably get back into the ring tomorrow, but it probably wouldn't be the most safest thing on the planet.
It'd be a bodybuilder could do it over, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
I forgot about that. I completely forgot that you went straight from junior straight to the pro ranks. I forgot that, which is kind of remarkable. You don't see that in the IFBB. So that's, when you think about it that way, that's mental. So the fact that at that age, you're 24, 25.
Yeah. So I was 22 whenever I done the juniors to the pro ranks, and then obviously I took the full year off, 23, just turned 24. So this will be like my first kind. I did get invited into the pro class, which this was obviously quite like weird as well. I got invited into the pro class that night at the British finals, and because basically it was like an hour between my class and me winning the British overall to the pro class. So I got, because it was like a special show or something like that, some sort of anniversary, I got an invite into it, and I went into it, and I was actually able to take the win within the pro class as well. But as well as that, like this year there's a lot of new people like competing as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this year I feel as if it's a lot bigger because I'm going to be against like the best of the best essentially. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
Still crazy, absolutely crazy.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things that I've kind of been, obviously I've been following you for a long time now, and like your style of training. Now I know you post kind of your big lifts and stuff like that, like Greg does, and like with the deadlifts and whatnot. But you want to just kind of talk us through kind of like how your training setup, because obviously we see you do like, you know, threes and, you know, 3 reps, 4 reps of like big fucking heavy weight. So we see that, but how does the rest of the session look like? I take it you're not doing like 3 reps with like barbell curls and shit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I always go back to the kind of old school approach. Like, don't get me wrong, I love lifting heavy weights and I love lifting big singles, big doubles, big triples. Like, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. But that's the way it's always kind of been throughout my training. See, once that, like, say for example, I do a back session and I do deadlifts in it, I'll probably just do one main kind of working major set, such as obviously like a triple or 4 or 5 reps kind of thing. Recently, I've been doing a few more reps, but what I would normally do is I would do something like, say, between 3 and 6 reps. I would get that set done, and then I would probably just move. I would either do like a back down set on deadlifts, do something like maybe 10 to 15 reps of still a relatively heavy weight, but a more so high rep per set. And then I would move towards obviously my back session, in which I would do obviously like things like pull downs, low rows, barbell rows, etc. And I would look towards doing 2 to 3 sets, and again it would be between 10 to 15 reps. I don't usually on work that's not something like a squat, bench, or a big press. I'll more so do your kind of 10 to 15 rep range on every single set. And to be fair, like I've went through the kind of approach like recently, as in like maybe the past couple of years, or just doing like a top set and a back off set. But very, very, very recently, I've kind of found my old ways back to doing like between 2 and 4 sets, maybe 3 or 4 sets most of the time, and just doing straight sets. So doing like a relatively hard set of 12 to 15, but doing that 4 times. Obviously not taking it to complete muscular failure, but near enough.
Close,
do you know what I mean?
Close.
Have
somebody that taught you how, like, did you have somebody when you first started in the gym, obviously quite younger, and like showed you the ways, or did you just like look from people, like what did they do? This looks more like what I would want to do, and so on.
Yeah, pretty much. Like when I started back in Stranraer, like I was training out of a little leisure centre for. To be fair, I trained out of the leisure centre until last July, until we eventually moved. So up until then, like it was just a case of I was always just learning through YouTube and things like that. Like the first main bodybuilder I came across was Jay Cutler. Just so happens to be till this day, Jay Cutler's still pretty much the only bodybuilder that I will watch, because I kind of took a lot from obviously the way that he trained, the way he ate, the way he kind of approached things. And like a lot of the kind of bigger, more so mass monsters is who I always really looked up to. Like I've not got time for any of the other categories. They just don't interest me. Like it's essentially just the mass monsters that I always looked at. And I looked at the way they trained, looked at the way they ate, and I thought, well, that must be what you have to do to get fucking huge. And although obviously they never, don't get me wrong, they never really done 2 and 3 and 4 reppers, I just get the satisfaction out of doing them. But the old school style of training and the style of training that I'll do after the big heavy reps, that's the kind of place that I took it from. And to be fair, like at the very start of my training, I was like when I didn't know that much about bodybuilding, and I was kind of just training for the wrestling, I would always go in and do like full body sessions every single day. Do you know what I mean? Just because I thought that was what you had to do. Like I was never around anybody that took their training seriously or anything like that. It was a leisure centre, and it was more so whenever obviously my strength and that started going up and up and up. And really at the time, I was probably the only person like my age who would go in and train or be kind of what you could say like consistent within training and things like that. I would more so get shit for, obviously, like it was quite a small town mentality. You would get a lot of shit for doing anything kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So it was just a case of really learning through YouTube, learning through the magazines at the time, because I mean, at that time you were still getting things like Flex magazines and things like, obviously you can't really get them now, but at that time they were like in their prime of, there was a new issue every single like month. Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of just trying to learn as much from them, but really just YouTube. Do you know what I mean? It was
Where did you get the love for like deadlifting and doing the heavy stuff? Because like that's not like Jay Cutler's thing. I don't know if I've ever seen a video of him doing deadlifts, but obviously you've got a fond love for it now. And like, let's be honest, for a natural guy, you're really fucking strong. Did you start off quite strong, or is it just like when you fell in love with it, it was just the natural progression of that just became up, you got really strong?
Yeah, well, like throughout the kind of starting of my lifting career, I was always into just trying to lift as heavy as I could. And it just ended up that I was trying to I tried my hardest to get into things like deadlifts and pretty much bench press. And I was never really one to squat because, I mean, I never really took that much interest in training legs. But eventually, maybe a year and a half down the line, I started getting into squats and that. But deadlifts were really the kind of main thing that I found that I was strong at. And I think because I knew I was a little bit stronger at them than any other lift, I was always kind of, you know how it is, if you kind of feel as if you're good at something, you'll keep trying to go back at it. So, I mean, I was probably deadlifting like every 3-4 days, trying to just pull a 1 rep max or something like that. And when I was 16, I pulled 200 kilo. That was like my top end. I think it was like 200 or 210. I pulled that, and then I pulled 220 for a single around maybe 3, 4, 5 months later when I was 17. And to be fair, when I was 17, I think I fell out of love with deadlifting because I felt as if I couldn't get any further with it. So I sat on 220 until I was maybe around just before turning 20 or something like that. Sat like literally 220 was like my kind of max for any sort of low repper. So obviously I was still deadlifting, but I was doing just 150, 160 and just kind of competing a few reps with it. And then I don't know what actually happened then, because it was actually throughout my contest prep that something just flicked a switch kind of thing. And I went from doing 220 for a single. I then done I took it up to being able to do 220 for 8 reps. And that was throughout my contest prep. I doubled, I think it was either 2 or 3 reps I'd done with 240. And then the second that I left that contest prep and went into my off season, it was full head on towards deadlifts. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to run them up something crazy. Yeah. And by the end of that off season, I think I left that off season at around 280 kilo for a single. And to me, obviously, that was relative, that was pretty cool. And then obviously it was time to go back into contest prep mode and that. And because I was a seasonal competitor, I was only getting maybe 3, 4, 5 months off season max. And then I was going back in competing, coming back out, going back in competing.
Yeah.
And ever since then, deadlifts have just always been my thing that I always every Saturday's deadlift day. And I get more nervous by the session, but I also get more hyped up by every Saturday. I wake up in the morning and I know it's fucking deadlift day. That's it's always back day, but it's back day with deadlifts to begin.
I'm the same.
Yeah, you touched on something when you were talking a while back there, and you said that obviously you spend a lot of time on watching YouTube and watching bodybuilders and stuff, and me and Greg have talked about this fucking to the death, but it's interesting how someone I think all three of us it's all there, all the information's there to kind of to have the physique and to have the training style and to do everything, and how many people do you see training like us three? You know what I mean? It's rare. But it baffles me that it's all there. Do you know what I mean? We have all the information, we have all the pros that put up their splits, untested guys, natty guys, they put up all their splits, and there's a general theme throughout that, it's heavyweight to failure. Obviously the volume kind of changes person to person, but it's all there. And I thought that was quite interesting you said that, because I was exactly the same. I was right, what do bodybuilders do? Right, let's pick the best one, copy him. It's odd how you see it in every gym, because I know you do coaching as well. You'll see it in gyms and that, and people don't want to hear that. So I'd say it's nice having someone else on who's the same kind of mindset as us. Just fucking do what the best guys do, and that seems to be kind of what works. So
the thing I find the hardest about the general modern day fitness industry or bodybuilding industry for that is you'll always see the phrase what is the phrase again? It's essentially just replicating what the best of the best do. It's like the unfortunate part about the modern day fitness industry is everybody wants things to come a lot easier, if that makes sense, but without being as cliche as possible. Like, it's just I don't know. There's just something about the modern day approach to everything I'm not really a fan of. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously I do like bits and bobs on YouTube and things like that, but I would like to kind of, my style of training and my style of like approach towards bodybuilding is like, I look towards the best of the best at like the Olympia level. Do you know what I mean? But like, you'll always see people kind of being like, oh yeah, like taking notes from the best people in the world and that, but it's like they'll never put that into play. It's like just the brand new approach towards training and that's not really like what people like to maybe classify as more optimal in this day and age for obviously training. And I don't know, like I struggle to kind of agree with anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I just go back to the old school approach. Do you know what I mean? I would take notes from Jay Cutler rather than taking notes from somebody that's like trying to get me to do a fucking like D-handle pull down or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Like, so that's the way it goes. Success leaves clues.
That's literally it. That's it. Like success leaves clues. So it's like people are saying you've got to be taking notes from people who are successful, but then they don't do it, and it's like it's
just as you said. It's like, you see, like, have you ever tried to explain to people like where you go in like those sets, like where your mind has to go, like where like the point of like heart and failure is there, but then you go above that for another rep, like you're willing like to almost put your back out to get one more rep in a section you want to that bad. Trying to explain that to people, they're looking at you like you're a fucking alien. Like they can't, like why would you do that? And it's like these people like want an easier solution to be us or have the look of like top guys. They're like, and everybody comes up with this new fucking thing every year. They think this must be the new clue of what to do, but there's no way around like the hard work. There's no way getting away from the hard work that you have to do in the gym, but people think there's an easy way out. And that's just like where I think everybody's going wrong. They're waiting for this easy solution.
I agree with that. I definitely agree. And to be fair, it's like the difference between that is as well, all your kind of modern day like trainers and that are quick enough to throw out the genetic card of we only train the way we train because we're genetically gifted to be as strong as we are, genetically gifted to be able to recover as well as we are. Like, I think as well, like that, like I don't have the best genetics on the planet. I know I don't have fair enough. I could sit here and say that I've got good enough genetics, but at the end of the day, it's like, I definitely feel as if they will only get you so far. Obviously, having good genetics and being able to work hard is fair, but like, I don't feel as if somebody's poor genetics is enough to like give them an excuse to not train the way that they realistically know they should be training.
Yeah, they just don't have it in them. They don't have it. That's the thing.
The genetic card is like the race card in bodybuilding.
When I say yesterday.
Oh, we can't play
I'm not going to say it this episode, so we'll get blacklisted.
No. Banned from YouTube.
It's like we're not Phil Heath. Like that man can look at a dumbbell and grow an arm. Like we're not that gifted. Like, but then he doesn't train like us. Mm-hmm. Like you don't see him going balls to the wall, fucking deadlifting, doing heavy squats, all this shit. It's like that's where our genetics come in. We have that gifted mindset to go and do that because we have to do that. We aren't that genetically gifted in like how we look. We have to work hard to fucking achieve a level that we can maybe get there in time, but like that's just our thing, whereas he's like gifted in another way.
Yeah.
So, we've got a few questions for you, mate. So I'll just load them up. And what I'll do is actually, for obviously you've got more followers than us, so but I'm just gonna share your profile anyway.
Here's a quick one for you, Khifie. How many followers did you get after training with Larry Wheels?
I surprisingly never got as many as what I think people would have thought. I got around maybe 3,500, I think.
So that's still
not bad. Like It was,
Still
don't get me
lost.
wrong, it was not, it was all right. Like I was enjoying just watching them flow in.
Yeah.
But Instagram's such a hard game at the minute, like so hard. Like the algorithm changes every single day, and it's just so
Do you think
hard.
there's something wrong with Instagram at the moment? Because I'm seeing like just weird patterns of stuff all
Oh,
the time. Like you put a photo or like a video, you think this is a fucking good one, and it's like nothing.
get nothing. Literally gets no traction.
Like what's
I've
happened?
actually
What
found I found for ages pictures were doing so well and videos. Nobody uploads videos anymore. Everybody only uploads reels, and that's fair enough. But pictures for a while were doing the best. Like you would literally get so much traction off a picture. Now pictures, I struggle to get like half off a picture than what I would get off something like a reel. And then all of a sudden my story views will go to like next to nothing, and they'll start like shadow banning half of my stuff. And then all of a sudden, say I stop posting on my story or something like that, immediately my views are just like skyrocketed through the roof, and it's like you don't know what to do.
Like that reel I posted of my 340 the other week, and I had like my camera guy Mike do it, and like obviously I paid money to get it all done. It was like sick tune, the build up looked sick, and like people like me fucking posting a picture of my hamstring drop is like I'll get 3-4 times more likes on that. It's like I thought that video was sick as fuck. Like what's happened? Like, you just think people would love that stuff, but it's like that's not what they want to see.
I know.
Yeah, that's not getting seen.
Yeah. For some reason, my security is not letting me share my screen. But anyway, and like I said, you got more followers than us anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so I'll load up. What was I going to ask you after this?
Cool.
Oh, nope. Oh, nope.
Is it frustrating just now not be able to pull what you normally pull?
It was like immediately at the start. It was quite a ball ache, but I've kind of just, I think as well that's got me back into my old frame of mind of doing a little bit higher volume in training, and I've actually been enjoying it. So like I'm back squatting and things like that. Like I'm back kind of progressively putting my reps up on things like 5 plates on my back again. And to be fair, like that's gave me a lot of kind of satisfaction along with things like leg presses and that, because I was pretty much not able to do any sort of leg press or anything like that. So that's kind of got me back. Same, like, don't get me wrong, with deadlifts, I done a 275 triple yesterday and things felt good, but see, because like with like my sciatica and that and my hips being quite tight, I've been finding that I've been trying to stay more tight and not put pressure on my hips, but by doing that I've been putting more pressure on my hips. So it's just been like a kind of vicious cycle of that, but working with it now, getting there. I mean, can only keep doing what I can do. Like, but I know once obviously I get bored, I would like a bit more support on that back around my hips when I get back in my off season. Things will be a whole lot better. And me doing what I'm doing now, like in terms of rehabilitation work and that, I know that me doing that's going to get me back to where I was sooner than me not doing it and just fucking
going on part of the process, is it?
Yeah.
Before I ask you the questions, we'll go back to what you were saying about like in terms of like the work ethic and kind of where you've got, because I mean you're 24 and natural, like it just shows you like how that level of work, and obviously watch the way you train. That is just kind of testament to obviously how you look. And I think a lot of people, they do shy away from believing that, you know, that kind of hard work can do a lot for you in that. So that's kind of one thing I kind of wanted to put across, because I'm sure you hear it all the time, mate, but like obviously being 24 and looking the way you look and performing the way you look, you know, people obviously claim that you're not natural, but we know, me and Greg have been in this game since fucking, I don't know how long, probably longer than you, like your age, but Greg anyway. And but yeah, people just don't want to believe that you're natural. So it's but we know we are, because we can spot, we know the differences. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure what my point is just now, but I did have a point. But I'm just kind of saying, like, you know, that ethic can get you the physique and can get you the muscle that you want, and you know, you're kind of obviously the absolute testament to that, I would say. So
that's definitely been like one of the hardest things, because the hard part within like natural bodybuilding and that is a lot of people are too quick to set limitations on what you can and like can't do naturally. Do you know what I mean? And that's always been my kind of goal, to be totally against that and in a way prove what actually can be done. Do you know what I mean? As a natural competitor. But then me doing that and me being in a very small percentage of people doing that is like, I'm like a kind of small fish in a massive pond of people setting limitations on themselves as a natural. So in a way, I just look as if I'm taking gear. I look as if I've got the best genetics. I look as if I'm fucking this, that, the next thing. When the reality is, it's just like up here.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean, like, I know, like, like, let me. I know certain natties where, like, you can't eat a certain amount of protein. You can't get above a certain, like, body fat percentage. You can't do this. Can't do that. Shouldn't do this. Shouldn't do that. And we know, like, even though Greg and I are untested, we know that's kind of completely bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like it's odd. It's just like you said, like, you hear within the whole natural bodybuilding realm of the limitations that, like, the natural guys put on themselves, and it's a shame because, like, again, go back to yourself. You've kind of shown exactly what you can be, that you can do, that you can, you know, get a little bit heavier in the off season. No offense. You can, like, move a shit ton of weight, and you can, you know, push nutrition and whatnot. Because, like, people think, like, okay, if you're not in gear, your body just doesn't absorb anything that comes into your body. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But yeah, people are so quick to just not believe in what a human body can actually fucking do. It's baffling what people think. Like, it's just not fucking possible. So, but they're lost. So one of the questions is, I've never heard you say this, but apparently this guy has, that you want to compete at the Olympia one day. So is that something you want to do down the line?
That's like the end goal. That's like the like main goal. I want to take it as far as possible. So,
so let me ask then, if you want to be Olympia, I would imagine you don't want to be natural forever. So what's your plans there?
Realistically, obviously the goals, the end goals, like the Olympia. So I'm a realist at the end of the day, and I know that I'm not going to stand on the Olympia stage natural. But it's also something that's like, when it happens, obviously people know, but realistically, it's not really something that, I don't know. This again goes for, like, the modern day industry as well. I feel as if it's becoming, like, very much publicized that whatever you're taking, you need to post it on Instagram, kind of thing, or you need to do a YouTube video on it and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not going to be one for, like, I'm not really one to talk. Do you know what I mean? I don't really like, obviously if I'm confident in something, I'll tell you I'm confident in it, but, like, I would rather show you than tell you. Do you know what I mean? So, like, my main goal obviously is to Mr. Olympia. I've got quite a few, like, I've got a couple of things left to box off in natural bodybuilding. I'm going to box them off. Like, I'm obviously still young and that. Don't want to like jump on, like, majorly early. Also don't want to leave it too late. But, like, the end goal is, like, IFBB Pro and eventually Olympia stage. When that's going to happen, don't have a clue, but that's, like, the main goal. And, like, to be fair, that's like a question that I always get asked on Instagram and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's loads of gear questions that I always get asked, but I genuinely just choose not to answer them because it's like, it's too easy just to chat on Instagram and just say a lot of stuff, and whether you mean it or whether you're not, like, half of the people could be, like, pure certain and meaning it, but 99% of the people that fucking talk on Instagram and answer questions like that are usually just full of shit. Do you know what I mean? And my kind of motto and thing that I've always stuck to is just being able to show people rather than just tell people. And I feel as if there's too many people telling and not really showing. And that's, like, again, throughout natural bodybuilding, that's been my main kind of thing as well. So
yeah. Well, we got the answer there. That was good. Darren wrote, not a question, but you'll need subtitles for this episode.
To be fair, I mean, that's probably true.
You struggle when you struggle when you go and like speak to English people and that. Like, obviously, I don't think your accent's that strong, but you know.
Yeah. It's, to be fair, it was actually quite harder for me to understand people from, like, Newcastle.
But so that's one of my questions actually. You've moved down to Durham, haven't you?
Yeah, that's where we're based now. Like, so it's It's good.
Yeah,
Like
they're a bit of a struggle. Like I can't imagine. I'd love to see kind of what a conversation between you and them look like. But
it's just like a noise. We just respond to the noises.
yeah, it's like whale sounds.
It's so funny when Dan does his impression of Ant and stuff.
I know.
That's
so
funny
funny.
shit.
How do you find it?
When he was speaking about in the toilet, and like Ant
yeah.
his pants on, he's like, "You're not fucking leaving now, man." That was fucking hilarious.
Oh, so good.
I was trying to imagine him at the wedding, and he was saying someone else, and Dan's like, "I'm off." He's like, "You're not fucking leaving now, man."
I've trained with Ant a few times, and like, there's been times where like, you know, when people just speak to you, and you're kind of like, like it was a question. You know what I mean? I was like,
there is even then. That's like the most awkward thing ever.
Oh, I know.
You're just kind of standing until they eventually repeat it.
Yeah. So, where are we? Prior to this is my question. Prior to obviously getting to wrestling, what was your background before that? Like in terms of sport, was there anything?
I was a fat kid at heart, right? So like I was really fat like when I was young and basically couldn't stick to anything. Like literally I tried all the sports. Like I tried fucking golf, curling, rugby, football. You'd be lucky if I stuck to them for probably like 2-3 weeks. And then I was like, can't really be bothered with this. To be fair, I was probably more like, don't get me wrong, like I would always go out and like be out with the boys and stuff like that, go out and play football and that with them, but trying to get into something, I was like, I wasn't really interested ever. And to be fair, it always did come down to me having the goal of wanting to be a professional wrestler and knowing that I was going to have to put a lot of commitment into something like that, because I had to travel from Stranraer to Glasgow like 2 or 3 times a week, every week, which again is like on the train, it took something like just under 3 hours there, 3 hours back. So like, there was major commitment when I eventually got the green light to be like, right, you can go to the wrestling school and actually start training to become that. So I think because all that I wanted to do was become a professional wrestler, I had no interest in anything else. Do you know what I mean? Same with school. Like I left school with nothing. Do you know what I mean? And it was just purely because there was no interest there. Do you know what I mean? And like, it was just, I think it was just something like that I just never really kind of clicked with, and just wanted to become a pro wrestler, but because it was very unrealistic and there was nothing ever about, and obviously nobody had ever kind of heard of anybody going to become a professional wrestler, so realistically nobody was behind the goal. Do you know what I mean? Apart from like my mum and that, she was like obviously very much behind it, and she helped me like a lot along the way to become a pro wrestler. But like obviously teachers, like my pals and that, like they were never really behind it. They were all just like, oh yeah, fucking amazing. Nobody gives a fuck. It's not gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? But then it was just like, well, I mean, it's gonna happen regardless. So I never really was interested in it, like in anything else. But then again, because obviously I was quite like fat and that when I was young, I loved food. Still love food, obviously, but my first kind of couple of years in the gym before I even got into bodybuilding, like I knew nothing about nutrition or anything like that. So I still never cared. I was obviously training every day, but like I was eating out with fast food vans and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like eating packets of pancakes and that for my breakfast in the morning just because I just loved food. But obviously like because I was a newbie to the gym, I was still making these gains because I was still getting do you know what I mean? So that was really the kind of background beforehand. And then when I got into the gym at the very start, so I had to wait until I was 16 to join the leisure centre because you had to be 16 to get in. And then my goal was just really to become fitter because I wanted to become a wrestler. It wasn't actually to build muscle or anything like that. I just wanted to become fitter, lose a bit of weight and that, and then obviously in the process started building a bit of muscle, and pretty much got hooked from there. So
that's class, mate. That's class. So the kind of top, like it's one of my clients, Josh. It's one of the topics for everyone. The difference in prep, obviously we're going to get asked this, the difference in prep off-season for natural and versus enhanced bodybuilders. I'll let you, Greg, I'll let you kick that one off.
Was it the difference in off-season only?
No, prep / off-season between naturals and enhanced.
Well, obviously the main one's drug use. I think it's just you guys obviously just give it a lot longer. Like obviously you guys really need to watch how you're sparing muscle. So that sense, like doing it much slower, watching small increments of body fat coming off, trying to retain as much muscle tissue as possible. Whereas obviously us enhanced, we can pretty drill it down quite hard because obviously we're taking enhanced products to kind of retain the muscle, and obviously some people probably growing it through prep if it's done right. So yeah, that'd be the main one. But you guys are very lighter on your protein, higher in carbs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was probably one of the main things you really notice on more natural guys compared to assisted. Obviously, carbs are probably better for your energy source and muscle spare and everything. But I honestly, I was going to ask you that question. Like, your chicken amount is so low in like your meals. Like that was bewildering to me. Like 90 grams in a meal. I couldn't believe that. I thought it'd be way higher. I was watching YouTube. I was just like, no way. That's like his protein amount in a meal. I was totally baffled.
Yeah, right now. So I'll have AGF protein powder, my oats in the morning. I'll have a shake before bed, and then I've got 5 meals of 80 grams of chicken and obviously protein source, carbohydrate source being sweet potato, and one of them meals will be white potato. So that's like, I don't actually know, to be fair. Like I just get a meal plan. Like I don't like to know macros or calories or anything like that. I just like to get a meal plan, and then I can kind of look at it and be like, right, that's what I'm eating today. Easy as that. But the goal has always just been to like take in the adequate amount of protein. So like I started off end of my off season, I was like 238 pounds. So assuming my protein was up at around maybe 220, 230, it's not changed. And obviously that's like where it's kind of been the whole time. And to be fair, I started off very high carb because obviously that's what we always do. And we started off a little bit earlier this year as well. Just going by 2020, surprisingly, my body's actually came in a lot quicker this year. So we've been in a position to put carbs actually up, and we've put carbs up 3 times now. So I've been dieting for about 17 weeks now or something. March the 7th was when it started. And I've got 12 weeks. So it was like 31 weeks to my first show. And food's not been cut yet. It's only been put up, and I'm still not doing any cardio or anything like that. So obviously we're in a good spot in terms of that. Whether my food goes up now, I can't really see it going up again, but we've still not cut anything yet. So I mean, it's decent enough that way. But like that's the way that protein wise, that's the way it's always been. Just taking in enough, and prioritizing the carbohydrates, and fats are just trace.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely interesting. Yeah, because I kind of knew that as I've been around, obviously. I was around Andrew Chapel for quite a few years. So, yeah, I kind of know that. And that always kind of, like Greg said, that can always baffle me a wee bit as well. I mean, Greg, how much protein are you on just now?
About 500 grams.
Oh, I think it's over 400.
Yeah, I'm just under 400 as well.
But I do have a point where it feels like once I go over a certain amount, it feels like it sits in my stomach like a brick. It doesn't want to go in. It's just too much protein to fucking digest. Like that's what Carl did to me not long ago. He was wanting to put because obviously it's like cooked amounts per meal, so like 200 grams, and he wanted to put up to 220. And after like two days, just even that's like small amounts, like through 3 meals, he put my weight up a little bit. It was just like I felt like my lower stomach was just rock solid.
Yeah.
I wasn't wanting to fucking get rid of it by the time the next meal, so it was just like building up. So he took it out, and like within about a week, I felt better. So it's like I will hit a point I can't take any more protein.
Yeah. Yeah, if you tally up all like the trace sources of protein as well, obviously they're not whole source, but yeah, I'm 400 whole, about 400 whole, and about 500 if you take in everything into account. So
wow. Don't get me wrong, mate.
Yeah.
Throughout my off season, like I'll gather up quite a bit more trace protein just purely because of obviously variety. But like looking at like whole sources, I'm probably still just between maybe like 200 and 220. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, that's
the best difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for me. That is the biggest difference between. In general terms, for instance, my client who asked that, he's natural as well, and he's on quite low protein as well. What I consider low anyway, because I do tend towards with natural guys. I do find that kind of do side more towards, carb being the most important macronutrient. And obviously with untested guys, when you're dieting them down, you can be far harsher in terms of like the drops and what, like Greg said. So you can have, protein a wee bit higher and you can pull the carbs down a little bit. So, but no, that's kind of what I knew you'd kind of say. You know what I mean? That usually is the biggest difference between untested and natural guys. So in terms of your training, personally, like if recovery is managed well, I don't see, obviously we're not talking like fucking branch war or anything like that, but in terms of the training, it's very similar, I would say, in terms of what you're able to do output wise. Obviously with ourselves, we're able to kind of recover that a little bit faster, so we could maybe push the volume, push the intensity, just the intensifiers a bit more so. But in terms of like overall, like between the top natties and the top untested guys, I would say training is relatively similar.
Yeah, I agree. I would say there's not really that much change in training.
Yeah.
Like again, it's quite a modern day like approach as well. Like a lot of people taking a lot more to do with obviously the recovery side of things. And I totally get that. Like it's a massive part, but I think people kind of take the biscuit a little bit when it comes to it, and like pull deloads and that whenever it's not even 100, like it's nowhere near necessary to do that. I mean, it's like I've never took a deload in my life, and it's like I think it's just one that, like, obviously again it goes back to like the old school style of training that like I don't logbook or anything like that. I don't believe in anything like that. Obviously, like from a coach's perspective, I'll get my clients to logbook just to ensure that they can, especially people that are maybe not as experienced. Do you know what I mean? If I was maybe a lot less experienced, I would potentially use a logbook for a guide. Do you know what I mean? Just for a guide to know what I'm doing. But I just kind of always go by feel, and there's going to be a lot of sessions when I'm feeling really, really, really good and I can pull 7 plates off the floor for reps. And there's going to be a lot of sessions when I go in and 220 is going to feel like fucking death. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about like kind of knowing that. And then obviously I don't really look at it as like the bad sessions, me pulling back or me backing off. It's just how I'm feeling on the day. And that's the way I'll train. But I mean, regardless how I'm feeling, my goal is just always to really go in, push it as hard as possible, and get out and eat my food. And that's the term fatigue management for me is like that's the new thing. Yeah, everyone's fucking obsessed with fatigue and fatigue management, and it is. I think Greg and I talked about this last week. It is fucking holding you back. It is holding a lot of guys back. Constantly deloading, constantly mini cutting. Constantly this, constantly that. Like, we understand the arguments. We all know the arguments for deloading. We understand the arguments for pulling your body fat down to be a little bit more insulin sensitive and whatnot. But it's such minutiae details that most don't need to be highlighting as much. I think the whole fatigue management thing just now is really holding some good physiques back, because they're just, it's like, I breathed slightly heavier today, deload. That bicep curl, I got one less rep, right? Deload. Like, I'm exaggerating, but it's, what I mean. It's
the thing that gets me is when the plan it or like the program it before it happens. Like, they don't know.
Yeah, I don't get that.
That fucking does my nothing. Like, how do you know you need a deload there? Like, you're not experiencing anything. They're like, oh, we'll do like a 6-week hard push. That 6-week hard push, they don't even know what fucking failure is. They're never going to get to a point they need fatigue management. And like, they're programming a deload in their setup, in their prep. It's like, they don't even need it. They're going to waste a week here by fucking pulling back so they can make more progress. That's what really does my nut in when they do stuff like that.
To be fair, that's something that I've definitely seen a lot lately. Like, programming deloads in like every 5 or 6 weeks. Something like that's
no dude.
Nah, not a chance. Yeah. Not a chance.
And this was actually a question I was actually going to ask, sorry, Khifie. Obviously, being natural, being fairly fucking strong, do you find it hard to recover from some of your lifts? Like, say you were away to touch like a brand new weight. Say you had never pulled 320 off the floor before, and you got like a few reps. would that not like really fuck up your back for like the following few days, maybe in a week?
Maybe a couple of days I would get like probably like pretty severe back DOMs, but at the end of the day, the way that I would also look at it is after something like a heavy deadlift session, I'm not going to be loading the posterior, therefore that's going to get a chance to recover itself. I'm probably not even going to be fully taxing my central nerve system, so that's going to get a chance to recover. Sleep for me is massive. Like I'll look for between 8 and 10 hours of sleep every single night. Do you know what I mean? That I can sleep like a baby as well, so I never have any issues with that. And obviously with like coaching as well being my kind of main thing, I've got like my own time. Do you know what I mean? To recover. Like I'm not like this is literally all I do. Do you know what I mean? I'll do obviously my coaching work and that, but then once obviously that's finished, then this is all I do. Do you know what I mean? I've got no major commitments or anything like that. Like I can literally do anything I want to recover and ensure that I'm recovering. I eat enough food, especially like in the off season, my food is so high, so my recovery's never taken a hit from me not eating enough. Even throughout prep, food's been really high, so I've not really had the chance to not be in a position to overdo it in the gym or anything like that. But I like see throughout like leg sessions and that, like post leg sessions, I can be wrote off for a week. But obviously it's just my lower half. I don't really need my lower half for anything apart from maybe a big press that's going to require some leg drive. Some weeks I can get really bad leg DOMs, some weeks I can get no leg DOMs. And again, after things like deadlifts, I tend to struggle after high repers. I could pull like a double or a triple and not fatigue at all in terms of obviously the next following days. But see if I do like a really hard, like I've done like probably the worst that I've done a set of 260, and I think I got like 12 or 13 reps with 260, and I was done for like 3 or 4 days. Like I felt that 3 or 4 days after. But apart from that, like that's been really the worst that I've kind of seen it. Like I probably do get like a bit, I probably get hit probably more than I know, but it's only because I don't feel as if I'm gonna like regress or make things worse by me still training whilst not feeling 110%, because it's like because obviously I don't do like push sessions or anything like that. I'll do like chest and arms, you know what I mean? Chest and triceps. I'll do back and then I'll do like shoulders. It's like the time in between these body parts, they're getting recovered. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily using them for anything else. And like what I said, like after something like a deadlift, I'm not necessarily loading the posterior in any form of way. So it's getting time to recover, and that's the way that I've always kind of looked at it, and it's worked worked up until now. So
I'm the opposite right now. If I could do fucking rep stuff all day and I would feel fine. But as soon as I touch like a new weight for like maybe 3 to 4 reps or something, like I'm dead. Like the reps are good. I felt amazing in the set, but the following days I'm just completely writ off. Everything hurts. So that's like totally new to me now.
Yeah.
That, and you're 10 years older than Chris, man.
Aye, maybe. I've got arthritis in my back and shit.
That too. Aye. So let me have a look, see what's happening. I think it's all of the questions are very similar, all kind of related to strength and that. So what's your in terms of numbers, like squat, bench, deadlift? So cliche, but people want to know.
330 deadlift, 300 squat in wraps, and 185 double paused on flat bench. Flat like pressing any sort of any pressing that I'm in, I just feel as if it's horrendous. But like in terms of like reps, I would probably classify like, this is where like obviously the bodybuilding side comes in. I would probably classify like a rep set a little bit more impressive than some numbers. Like I pulled a 330 for a single, but I pulled 320 for a triple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like looking at it from that like perspective, when I was at like peak strength, when I'd done 320 for a triple, and that was on like a dead stop as well, probably could have pushed it towards maybe looking at, if I was really fresh, maybe a 340 single, probably a really hard one, but it would probably have been there. I've done 260 for 9 on barbell squats. And again, obviously, like I said, I don't know what my 1 rep max would be on something like a bench, but I've done 185 for a double, paused, just because I feel as if I'm more explosive on a pause rather than trying to fucking get it off my chest, like from a touch and go kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just pressing in general is just fucking awful.
Yeah.
We always compare our worst lifts to our best lifts, so I just think,
yeah,
like,
no.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would sit here and say like, oh fuck, I can deadlift 320 for a triple, but I can only bench press like 180. Do you know what I mean? It's like, in a way, obviously it's still good, but it's just shit compared to like numbers.
Yeah. So I was in obviously you trained in Future Fitness a few times, and so a lot of the boys in there kind of ask obviously about you, and obviously I don't know a shit ton about you, but obviously we end up talking about bodybuilding. They always hear Glaswegians ask, like, is there like something that like is in the water like in our parts of the country, because they're always asking if truth or strength is a real thing. And I'm like, oh, fuck off that, because it gets back to the whole genetics thing. Like, the whole genetics card is like the race card. But it's just, this is the thing though, right? So there's us three, Josh Dougal, Jack Gunn. Name another super strong, huge bodybuilder from the Central Belt. That's not a truth there.
No.
So maybe they've got a point.
Quite strong, but he's not Scottish.
Who?
What's his name? Is it Wojtek?
Wojtek, yeah. Wojtek's Polish.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oh, but he's not Scottish. Yeah.
So maybe there is a thing in the whole truther blood. You know what I mean? For any kind of English audience, a truther is what Greg said, is a farmer. So
just bred different.
Bred different, mate.
Yeah, I was from the Highlands.
And I was slinging cattle when I was 6 years old. That's what it is. So,
things are you could name fucking strong English guys.
Mm-hmm.
Look at James, fuck me.
Yeah, James looks like a truther though.
Mm-hmm. He does look like a truther.
The mental thing about it all is we've literally all got the same training approach, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Like, does that not speak into existence of our physiques? Because
yeah, totally.
Like, you won't look at one of our physiques and see a modern day's approach of training. You'll look into our physiques and then look into the training, and it's just literally heavy as fuck weights for as many reps as we can. Obviously standardizing execution, because again, it's going to be one of the biggest things that we need to do, but we literally just have the kind of very similar approach of obviously lifting very, very, very heavy weights, which leads to our physiques being dense and obviously carrying a lot of muscle tissue. It doesn't come down to us being genetically gifted. We just train. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
none of us are actually farmers.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at JP, who did change like the way everybody trained for like almost a decade. Like the way he approached like a heavy load and a back offset. So many people tried to do it, but when the people actually who could do it and executed it, they were fucking dense. They were like starting to get big, thick muscle, and it's like there is a reason behind it. It's like, as I said before, fucking success leaves clues.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
What did I say? We're approaching an hour, but I feel like I've got more to talk about.
I was actually going to ask, you're saying that obviously the end goal is to not be natural anymore and aim for Olympia and stuff like that. Could you achieve your goals within this season, or is it going to take more than this season?
I'd like to say yes.
Yeah. So what would that be, a win at both shows?
If I could it's a hard one to say. I'd like to say yes again. I'm going to do my absolute best to do so. But because I've already boxed off the Grand Prix at the British, that's kind of that boxed off. So that essentially would be adding to that. But it's mainly like winning my class at the Worlds and becoming like a pro world champ, because I've already became a world champ in the amateurs. So it's like now I've kind of got that to box off. And if I could do that, then that would be like phenomenal. Do you know what I mean?
How long would you continue to try and get it if you didn't for some shit reason?
I don't know. I would have to kind of wait and see how I was feeling post show, whether it was like my heart was still in it to still really kind of box it off. I think because I'm in such a good position now with how things have been, and obviously with my age and things like that, my kind of desire to get it is a bit stronger. But if it was a case of pushing on another year and maybe not being worth it, like I don't know. I think
it's like down to what you want to do, Andy, with the universe.
Yeah.
Like it was like in your mind for so long you wanted that title, but then it came to a point you were like, the title that I want after this one is way bigger and it'll open 100 more doors. Then this is just like a title I wanted. It's like almost like that toy you wanted as a kid, you never got it.
No, I never got it.
It never changed anything.
Yeah. No, legit. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's class, mate. That's class.
Yeah.
What were they say? Fuck, I don't know. You got anything, Greg?
Huh?
You got anything?
I was actually going to say, you were just in Dubai recently, were you?
Yeah.
Trained with Larry Wheels. How was that?
That was pretty cool.
When I seen that come up, I was like, no, there's maybe another pec there. Fuck no.
We actually
we watched the end of career happen right here.
We were training out with Strong Gym where basically he does like his deadlifts and that. Yeah, he pulled like the 420 for the triple the night before. And we were in deadlifting and then pretty much bumped into each other, and it was a case of we kind of got talking and stuff like that, and we're just like chatting in general, obviously going over everything, and then decided to obviously kind of train, and we had literally just done deadlifts, hence why they were out the window. So it was a case of doing something like chest or shoulders, and then obviously came up with the kind of thing of doing maybe like a natty or not thing, just because the traction would have been like pretty mental. So we done that, and then we decided to do chest, and then we obviously met up the next day, and he was like, yeah, we should do some incline bench, and I was instantly thinking to myself, I just seen Ryan in my head just fucking just
no matter what he said, he's like, do you want to train? I'm like, nah.
I was like,
you paid me.
Oh, so it was everything went all good, like, but because again we obviously don't have like a, what you could say maybe like a similar training approach, but obviously we kind of were able to bounce off each other so much, because again, in terms of heavy lifting and things like that, we had the same mindset towards going into heavy lifts. We had the same mindset of always wanting to do that bit more, so it was so easy to bounce off each other. And again, he was up for obviously going through like my kind of approach to training chest, so again it was good to see. Let me tell you, like, see, by the time he had done incline bench, like everything was the same, if not me doing more reps, if not me kind of outdoing him on some things, especially by the end, like he was fried by the end, like completely finito. So I mean, it was cool to obviously be able to do that, and hopefully whenever, either after the Arnold's, or I don't think it'll be before, but I think after the Arnold's, he's going to come across to the UK, because he's got quite a few things over here, and we're hopefully going to grab like a deadlift session or something like that and be able to kind of do something like that, because everybody was kind of desperate to see us deadlifting or doing something like that. But it was still really cool because we were able to bounce off each other so well. So I think that made the session like 10 times better.
Yeah, he is obviously an extremely strong guy. Was it quite cool being like that presence, seeing somebody like pushing that much weight?
Yeah, definitely. Well, like, it was like he'd said to me to get behind him, obviously, when he'd done his top set, which was like 180 kilo for like 10 or 11 paused reps, and obviously just seeing 180 kilo on a fucking barbell on a press is mental enough. But when obviously he gave me the nod to give him a lift off, and obviously I took my hands away because I knew it, I was confident that he was fine with it. But just seeing the bar move the way it did, it was like I literally done, I think my top set was like 120 for like 8 reps, and honestly that felt like fucking hell, so it did. And then you just you give him like you unrack his 180 kilo, and he just starts like pausing it off his chest and repping it like it's nobody's business. So that was pretty cool. Like,
it was at the time when I spotted you, Greg. So you remember we used to do the handless fucking
safety squats without hands.
Aye. Mind that time you done like, we were training legs, you'd done like 300 or something.
It was 270 or 280 with you, yeah.
Still, anyway, like my arse collapsed, like spotting that. So fuck that. You know what I mean?
Did Larry ask you to train, or his manager was asking you to train?
Yeah, so the guy that was filming, was he filming at the time?
Yeah.
You know, that wee American guy that comes around with him, the bald guy.
Yeah.
He asked me to train with him. So he came up, he talked to me. So Dan Farrell introduced me, and I was like, just basically talking to him and that. And then he kind of got to his point. He was like, "Look, I want you to train with Larry. You know, he's free these days." And I was just like, "No." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "No, mate." He's like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because I'll get injured, mate. I don't want to." And he was like, "Okay." He trying to convince me, and then he was like, "We at least arm wrestle him." I was like, "Mate, I've never arm wrestled in my fucking life. He's gonna snap me in half." Like, you know, you see all these like horrific videos and forearm snapping in half and that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No chance, mate. No chance." He's like, "Okay, cool." And then I've been back to Dubai quite a few times, and he's always in my face like, "You need to come train with Larry." I'm like, "Mate, I'm not fucking training with Larry." Like, no chance. Because that
I think
will be.
I know to do deadlifts, I would do it, but I would be in my own comfort zone. If I was heart set on pulling 340, he's like, "Oh, go pull like 360." I'm like, "Nah, I'll do 340, 100%. I'm there going like what you want me to do. No way."
Yeah,
do my own thing.
Aye, you're more of a man than me, mate.
Because like at most part of the moment is like, wonder how many followers I'll get after this. Fuck yeah!
I know.
That was it. That was
it. Not follower money. Not follower money. Yeah, boys, we're coming up to an hour, and I think we like to keep it to an hour just so people don't kind of switch off on that. So, but no, we really appreciate you coming on, mate. Like I said at the start, we're always really happy to get Scottish guys on and kind of show that, you know, we are kind of producing a lot of great physiques, and hopefully in 12 weeks, and then obviously 4 weeks after that, you'll be, you know, number one in the world, hopefully. So, that'll be it. Best of luck with that, and obviously we're both very excited to kind of watch you progress, and that obviously being so young, and it'll be interesting to kind of see where your career takes off after that point. So
100%.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. Right, guys, if you made it this far, cheers again, and remember to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, all that stuff, and follow Greg, Scottish Titan, on YouTube. Khifie, what's your YouTube account?
Yeah, it's literally just same as Instagram, just the exact same as Instagram handle. Yep.
Khifie West. Cool. And I'm AMS Muscle on Instagram. So, make sure you follow us all. And until next time, cheers, guys.
Cheers.